in my estimation, the most dangerous terrorist group 24 years after Al Qaeda launched its attacks on the United States remains Al Qaeda. It continues to have a global terrorist organization. It has safe haven in Afghanistan with the Taliban taking control with the support of the Taliban. The situation there is far worse than it was pre 9/11. The Taliban fully controls the country. Al Qaeda is running training camps in at least 13 of the 34 provinces. This is a group that's committed. Again, its global organization remains intact. It controls probably more than a third of Somalia. And then its so called former affiliate, and I'm not convinced the links have been broken, in Syria, now controls the government of Syria with the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and its leader. President Trump even welcomed the takeover, the ouster of Bashar al-Assad. This was a mistake in my estimation. So it's a group that has proven to be clever, to be committed. Now, it's as far as violence levels go, it's a little different from the Islamic State. The Islamic State is sort of the other side of the coin, the jihadist coin. Their disagreements are only really over leadership and execution of strategy. They share the same goals to establish a global caliphate. The number one concern I have for terrorists, the threat of terrorism, is the rise in safe haven for these groups. Afghanistan, Al Qaeda running training camps, the Iranians continuing to provide safe haven, countries like Iraq, where the Shia militias are permitted to operate. Shabab, Al Qaeda's branch in Somalia, has safe haven in the areas they control. This is where, when terrorist groups have the time, the space, and the security to plot, to execute, to recruit, to raise funds, they can conduct an attack like 9/11. And they have that in multiple places now. Nobody thought that box cutters and some training on airlines would lead to 9/11, and yet it happened. Again, whatever we think about these terrorists, these individuals, they innovate in their own ways and they're committed to their cause, and we have to respect that. And the one thing we should not give them is safe haven. And the other, again, state sponsorship, the fact that Iran or countries like Pakistan support terrorists or are allowed to support terrorist organizations, that this is accepted 24 years after 9/11. It boggles my mind, but again, we don't have the will to see through these difficult problems. And when that next big attack occurs, I can't say when it'll occur, where it'll occur, but it'll be because these groups were given the time and space to operate and plot. The threat has grown since 9/11. Again, look, I think if Osama bin Laden was alive, I'll just use Al Qaeda as the example here. If he was alive today, did things go the way he planned or had expected? Probably not, but I think he'd be pleased with the results. Afghanistan being fully in control. Syria under the leadership of a jihadist group. Somalia is continuing to fight, half the country. How Al Qaeda, prior to 9/11, Al Qaeda was operating on a cellular level, and in Afghanistan was participating alongside the Taliban fighting. Now they have armies across the globe. And then you have the Islamic State. Then you have the Shia militias. Some of these militias either didn't exist or were a shadow of themselves prior to 9/11. For instance, the Iraqi militias, the Iraqi Shia militias that are supported by Iran, they did not exist prior to 9/11. So the threat has grown. Their capacity has grown. The one thing that has improved in this war is our ability to protect the homeland. I do not discount that. We have improved in our ability to prevent attacks. Is it 100%? No, but it's far more difficult for terrorist organizations to conduct a 9/11 style attack. But we have to remember their goal is to establish a global caliphate. Their goal would be to, take over friendly countries in the Middle East and Europe and whatnot. And if I can make one more statement as well, when you look at the attitudes toward jihadist organizations, look at the support for Hamas today. Look at how the young people were saying, hey, Osama bin Laden has a point. There's something like 30% of people polled were sympathetic to bin Laden. The rise in anti-Semitism and the rise in the decrease, I'm sorry, in support for Israel. These are all indicators that things are trending in the way, trending for the jihadist organizations. And to me, these are indications that we have lost the war on terror.